All right, so we're going to go ahead and kick it off. And obviously the election's coming up next year, this coming year, and so I wanted to talk about like different aspects about politics in the pro-life movement, because politics are part of the pro-life movement, and it's something important. And we're going to have some cool stuff. Father Frank is going to talk to you about what your churches can and actually do. A lot of people are afraid that some churches aren't allowed to do anything political. That's just not true. So Father Frank's going to talk about that. So I'm going to go ahead and ask Father Frank Pavone. Where are you at, Father? My boss, my friend, Father Frank Pavone. And a friend of mine, Tom McClusky, with the March for Life, and Billy Valentine. Come on up here. Now, I first met Billy back, I think it was like 10, 11 years ago. Billy was a student at Franciscan University of Steubenville, and he brought Bobby Schindler in to speak, and he asked me if I'd come speak at the school. But I came and I did my stock. The school, they didn't have enough money. So Billy, you know, I still haven't got paid for that speaking engagement. $300, dude. No, I'm kidding. All right, that's cool. Call it even. Call it even. Anyway, guys, give these guys a big hand. Oh, more money. I can buy a Coke. All right, guys, give it up.
All right, thanks, Brian. This may be a silly question, but how many of you have Instagram accounts? Oh, okay. I just took a picture of you. I'm going to put it on my Instagram account. Can we connect on Instagram? Mine, I know many of you are already followers of mine, but it's Fr Frank Pavone. Simple as that. Fr Frank Pavone. I'm going to put that picture up there even right now as we give this presentation, but not while I'm talking, while they're talking, but I'll be listening to them at the same time as I want you to listen to them too, because all three of us are going to talk to you about the necessity of the people of God electing public servants, okay, who know the difference between serving the public and killing the public. Now, and if they don't know that difference, they don't belong in public office. Now, we in the church, there's a lot of different dynamics to politics. But one of the points I want to emphasize is that religion and politics do mix. They do mix. Because Jesus commissioned us to go into the world, make disciples of all the nations, and teach them to carry out everything that He has commanded them. Well, one of the things God commands us is to protect the weak and the vulnerable, not to shed innocent blood. And the nations becoming His disciples includes the fact that they in their public policies protect life. So is it okay for the church and for your pastors and your priests and ministers to get up into the pulpit and say, hey everybody, we've got to elect public servants who know the difference between serving the public and killing the public? Well, of course that's okay for them to say that. And that's one of the reasons I recently wrote a book, it got published this summer, that helps our clergy understand from a legal point of view what they can say and what they can't. And we are far less limited than we tend to think we are. But that's for the clergy to worry about. What are some of the kind of things that you can do in your groups, in your activities, and why is this so important? Well, first of all, people can't make a difference in the voting booth. Well, let's take one step further back. What's counted on election day? What do they count up? They don't count up the opinions. They don't even count up the polls. They don't count up the arguments, and they don't even count up the reasons why people voted for them. Only one thing gets counted, the votes themselves. And for the votes to be counted, the votes have to be cast. And for the votes to be cast, the person casting them has to show up at the polls. And for the person who casts the vote and shows up at the polls to be able to cast a vote legally, I think with the exception of one state, they have to be registered to vote. And you know what? One of the things you all can do in your youth groups, in your communities, even just organizing with a few friends, is register voters starting now. And it's not just for the general election, it's also for the primary elections. The primaries are critically important too. But voter registration is a nonpartisan activity. In other words, it doesn't necessarily involve getting behind a particular candidate or party. What it involves is simply, again, and this is where religion and politics do mix, it's to say to someone, if you want to make a difference in the world, well, here, all we're doing here is giving you the tools to do that. Now, another way we give people the tools, besides registering them to vote, is that when voting time comes, we help to get them to the polls, to get them there. There are some people who need a ride on election day. And if your state has early voting, this is one of the things I want you to pay attention to this year. Whether your state has early voting. Now, we have a special website, by the way. All three of us up here have websites that you can take advantage of. But we have one called politicalresponsibility.com. And on there we have a page that has all the information about all the states. And so you can look up your state and see, does it have early voting? If so, when does it start? And what are the deadlines, by the way, for the voter registration? All these practical things are so important for us to know. We want you to become experts in these things. It's not hard. You sit down, you look at the websites, become familiar with how the process works. It's not just enough for us to say, yeah, we gotta vote, and we gotta vote pro-life. We do need to say those things. But we gotta get down into the nitty-gritty practical stuff. And the other thing is voter guides. We at Priests for Life are going to create voter guides. Other groups create voter guides. SBA List, of course, creates lots of voter guides. And this is simply, again, giving people information about where the candidates stand. And there's basically two different kinds of voter guides, just to make it simple. There's the kind that tells people where the candidates stand and then goes ahead and tells them who they should vote for. And then there's another kind that just is neutral and just gives the information on where the candidates stand. The kind that's neutral, and I'm oversimplifying this a little bit, but the kind that's neutral, even churches can distribute. The kind that says to people, okay, here's where they stand, and by the way, here's the one you need to vote for, those can be distributed by individual citizens and political-oriented groups and whatnot. But it's important for us, as the election gets closer, pay attention to voter guides, get a hold of them, replicate them, duplicate them, email them, share them on social media, get people the information they need so that they not only know that we have to elect pro-life candidates, but that they get to know who those pro-life candidates are. So those are just a few initial thoughts. I want to pass it over now to my colleagues and friends here as we continue to talk about the importance of elections 2016.
Great, thanks so much, Father. So I wanted to kick off my talk by reading a passage from a Newsweek article from a few years ago. The person being referred to in this article is Nancy Keenan, who at the time was the president of NARAL Pro-Choice America, and it goes like this, quote, "This past January when Keenan's train pulled into Washington's Union Station, she was greeted by a swarm of anti-abortion rights activists. It was the 37th annual March for Life, and this is her speaking now, quote, I just thought, oh my gosh, they are so young, there are so many of them, and they are so young. How awesome is that? See, the young people in this room, you terrify big abortion. You terrify them. Your presence here means so much. But if you want to scare them even more, get involved politically. How do you do that? Get registered to vote. Get your friends and family registered to vote. Get to know all the candidates in every single race from the presidential level down all the way to the school board. Get to know the issues. Influence your friends and family. For some of you, you might even want to go the extra mile, volunteer on campaigns. Maybe one day you'll run for office yourself. And there is no better time to get involved than right now. As Brian mentioned, I went to Franciscan, and obviously I was surrounded by, pro-lifers. I didn't have to battle, pro-abortion professors or pro-abortion students. The biggest battle I faced was political apathy. And, I was there during the 2008 election cycle, and people thought, the candidates aren't perfect. And, what can a president really even do on the issue of abortion? Well, I can tell you in 2016, the stakes couldn't be higher. And just 2 weeks ago, the U.S. Congress sent to the president's desk a bill that defunds Planned Parenthood. Now, we all know what this president did. He vetoed it. He didn't even think twice. He won't even watch the videos. He vetoed it. But what it shows us is there is just one person standing in the way from finally defunding Planned Parenthood. They've been getting our taxpayer dollars for decades. not once prior to just 2 weeks ago did a bill ever land on the president's desk that defunded them. So we've got our work cut out for us. We've got to elect a pro-life president, and we need to protect our pro-life majorities in Congress. Then you've got the state level. There's a great Guttmacher piece that just came out just within the last 2 weeks. And the title of it is, "Last 5 years account for more than 1/4 of all abortion restrictions enacted since Roe." What do they credit that to? The pro-lifers that were swept into office in 2010. You win elections, you change the law, you save lives. Thank you so much.
Bill, Instagram your father?
I am. Yes, it's up on Instagram. I'm just adding some hashtags now.
I'm just not used to this Ellen format for interviews. So I try to dance like her, watch me win. So that is all great information, and I'm honored to be up here with such distinguished people. And being up here, first I have to ask, how many of you perhaps were at the first session we had where I spoke at Capitol Hill 101? Was there anybody? There were a few. Okay, new jokes. One thing being up here with these people, with these guys, is what I noticed about the pro-life movement is one thing we could use more of is white male Catholics. Just don't think we have enough of those, but seriously, we're only representing people bigger than ourselves. You'll be hearing tomorrow at the rally from Billy's boss, Marjorie Danielfelser. You heard earlier from my boss, Jeannie Mancini, who's just an honor and pleasure to work for. And well, Father Pavone's probably got the toughest woman to work for with the Holy Mother. And hopefully we hear from her every day, or at least talk to her. Now, this is great, what everybody's talking about, but if I can ask just one question, and I promise it's the only math question I'm going to ask all day, is how many people here will not be 18 in November? Just raise your hands. See, so you're probably wondering, why are they talking to me about this kind of stuff? I'm not going to even be able to vote unless I live in Chicago and I'm dead. So there is so much that you can do. And as I can tell you, I've been a child most of my adult life. And I can tell you, adults listen to you more than you think they do. And when you go in, Billy and my job, our job is to sit down with legislators and talk with them on the different issues. I know Father Pavone does this also. It can take me forever to get a meeting with a legislator. It'll take you 5 minutes. Picking up a phone, and be it a state legislator or a federal legislator, and saying, I'd like to come in your office and talk about this issue. Be it life, be it whatever issue. And a little tidbit, ask them if you'd also like a picture with that politician. Because there's not a politician in the world, or apparently a priest, as we now saw, who will turn down having their picture taken. And it'll give you 3 or 4, you'll most likely be talking to the staffers, and the staffers are going to know more about the issue anyway. Except, and the lights are going down, I'm expecting a little Barry White to be playing soon. I guess anything to warm up this room. And we're just preparing you for tomorrow. Trust me, it's going to be cold. However, you'll be talking to the staffer. The staffer, they're probably going to know more about the issue. They will let the member, the legislator, know about the issue. But it's good to have that 2 or 3 minutes with a legislator, if that's all you can get, to be able to talk to them about that issue. The only thing one of the many things I'd emphasize is be respectful, be polite. Even if they disagree with you, they're wrong, but be respectful, be polite. Because that is how we change things, and if we can't change their minds, we can change the staffers' minds. If we can't change the staffers' mind or the members' mind, we can do what these two were suggesting, change the members themselves. And there you can also help. Patrick Henry College and Homeschool Legal Defense Fund all have people around your, mostly around your age, and they have a great canvassing program where you can find a pro-life candidate and go help that and volunteer for that pro-life candidate. You spent all this time to come to the March for Life, and we are eternally grateful for that. It's going to be a cold, snowy day, but we're doing it for the right reasons. And some of you travel far away. I mean, I've heard Canada, I've heard California. Whoa! I think we're being invaded. Hide your back, bacon. I grew up on the Canadian border. I know we're not going to go to war with them. But you spent all that time, you're spending a couple of days to come to the March for Life. Spend 5 minutes to send an email on an issue to your member of Congress or your state legislator. Spend 5 minutes to make a phone call, especially call the district office or visit the district office, which is even better. They're not used to that. 1,000 calls up to Capitol Hill, it's effective, don't get me wrong, except it goes into a little accounting Excel sheet, like, okay, so many people called on this issue. 10 calls to a district office, they get scared, they get paranoid. Even in states like Maryland or Washington State or Ohio, or I'm gonna just keep on calling out states until somebody cheers. North Carolina, go ahead, North Carolina. Okay, so 2 North Carolinians walk into a bar. Oh wait, a number of you are under 18, I forgot that. No, but all I could emphasize is there is a lot you can do. And also, if anything else, educate your parents on some of these issues. They got a lot of things, many parents have a lot of things to worry about. They got bills to pay, they got your schooling, they got everything you guys are getting up to at night and on the weekends. So talk to them about the issues. And again, I'd emphasize be respectful. But there's a lot you can do. At all of our websites, there's a lot of things that, regardless of your age, I don't have an Instagram account. I do have a Twitter account, if people still use Twitter. Snapchat, don't have that either. I do have a teletype machine, and but again, if I can just emphasize, get involved. Don't let this be a one-day thing. Because for somebody like me, I've been coming to March now for about 15 years. In my first March, I was working in a pro-life organization, and I didn't even go down. I was a couple blocks away, I didn't even go down. But then the next year, I was kind of, it wasn't a Catholic organization, but they certainly knew how to use guilt. I was guilted to go down, and you guys are inspiring to those of us who work here day in day on this issue. And all we'd have to say is join us. Join us day by day, and do everything that you can do to help change this March for Life, so that we are not fighting to end abortion, but we're fighting to promote life. So thank you very much.